So that the lead my experience right now I got like Jin, not only knowing that like it's so very comfort also knowing like it's name as well as like Chef's name as well. That I'm considering that it's still to my best friend that might have been told to that single poetry for when talking like Jim's land found so market the lead my best friend. So like what might have happened with you like that myself even after like market has left campus plot and like the so rising and came to that the world of like living that we came to that world of the human like and but then even after that like I'm still thinking about my brain which has for like how Marty might have ended up in like the bound squad the bound team of like Jim might have been through sheer accident the I think they are much more like what might have happened I'm still thinking about my brain might have from that like in the past like after that Jin might have been about to get eliminated by the King Cube and like it might have been that is the bus it might have been that marketing of that from marketing of way from like the society to the beginning more like the fucking marketing of myself to might have been good that rather person get attacked by like the King might have been more than that. But like marketing of might have saved Jin's life and that way that Jin might have like at that point like Jin might have been so extremely appreciative of that marketing also like help as well as well. So like I think even might have said like that are so that get much regions to be part of it like it might have been what might have happened. Like I'm looking like it might have been after like they might have introduced that is zero of bounds to like market regions that like it might be only at that point that market regions might have realized that like then are all bounds actually might have been. So because like until that point like market regions it might have been like a very first time that market regions might have been even sent like the person like about as well at that point as well. It doesn't like it's so like it might be only at when like Jin might have revealed that like Marcus at that point might have even realized that like they are all constant. It might be only after that that Marcus might have slowly realized that like Jin is not innocent as Marcus that that about like the villains of hiding within Jin that Marcus might have realized after like might have slowly realized might have been what might have happened. So even in my person the real person, but even at that point that Marcus might have had this like go getting into the way of like they to keep ahead of like the soul society and like can fight and all to like destroy like the release stick around start. But like I'm during my kids instance might have developed to that in that the great as like one of like about one like members in like since like bounty like to for like Marquis himself to like definitely eventually make that absolute destroyer and they need to that destroy Jim's lab with a tick plan and so it might have been what like Marquis might have to do it by himself. So that like enough time pass like this Marquis might have actually not been able to like pull off like plan of style because the operations of like maybe that when like due to that market like to getting in like the way that market might have decided back then to like basically so to like all by himself to that to figure out plans to that and that way to that bring down attempt to like bring down like the entire technical along the road including just all by himself to that absolute study. Uh, Might get on the line that markets of back then might have but then like markets might have started frequently planning all types of ways to that eliminate that jet and the build up of the boundary but like I'm looking still that even though markets might have planned out a lot of strategies like I'm doing like markets might have been able to like integrate it at all might have been like the scenario that might have all by himself might have been like the scenario that might have happened and that way like time might have passed continually Jin as like Jin was like working towards the sport to like totally open up future moon of and basically to roll out there. So like I'm thinking that especially might be like Jin go side things that so especially I'm looking for like that way like I'm looking like right now I'm looking like the situation would be like one more Quincy push it up like so might be like the enough thing that like Jin needs to like only to get so really offered as well as for like huge amount of instantly at that point would be that that channel that on like the human world to like the would be like directly getting open at that point might be like the end of the situation it might have ended up in like the stuff you know so like I'm from like while Jen might have found out about like if you have person insist for something like the human world and uh once through Jim like Mark might have learned up to like learned of the sugar. Like at that point, I'm discovering that not reaching of myself snapped out of it, that ego getting in the way and realizing that the same phase of that thing situation that that the world of like living at like social in everything within right now, especially since like the human world and like the social society it's just in that absolute balance and if like that on top of stuff and get used like and with like the whole great number of hollows in the century like the world of like the living like then at that point like that balance will be getting destroyed and since like one can it's just without the other like both society and like human world that way getting destroyed. Uh, like maybe like along such line comes the like of like the things of like reality kind of like a situation like I'm person like market might have felt that one but like at that point of the like market might have it might be at that point that market might have found it that to like make the flag crystal for example like detectable for like the elements and like the sport elements and like it might have been one manufacturer so like that might have been that market constantly doing that to like to look like Manchester at that point might have made it for like at that point I'm looking to make Manchester might have hoped for like at least a single document from that like previous squad of like the squad of Kentucky like showing up on like them being able to like sense like special person even though if it's like half of such a long time maybe along the lines that Manchester might have hoped and I'm just like at that point at the point like one like Manchester with the version when that can by this part made us like at that point I'm looking like it might have been like Yatsu that might have been like that as the skill might have come up to that human world at that point to meet and talk to like Magi might have been what might have happened that meet might have been from the emotions for like what might have happened would be that in competitive state of well that because like he might have been also instantly been able to like detect like Magi like this or something like the moment like Magi have made it detectable or like the society might have been what might have happened that week method so yeah like in the case of Kenpachi as well like I'm looking like the ego even after even though like after such a long time still like even though deep down Kenpachi might have still into the person you take on the body margins back safely to the slack for still I'm looking like even Kenpachi is like ego might have only gotten in the way of like him actually going up to that the world of sexuality and give to the new to margins. So like I'm looking like that way, I'm looking like maybe even Yatsu might have been it might have been obvious for like Yatsu at that point that like Kenpachi is definitely won't be heading over to that the world of the living and meeting Marty, like Kenpachi Hero along the lines it might have been obvious for like Yatsu. So like Yatsu might have made up some sort of life to like Kenpachi for like Yatsu to that way that have the steps was selected human world and made and out to that contribution. That's it might have been part of this for like 10 budget that one that Yatsu was like that was like Yatsu was like attempt to like talk to like meet and talk to like markets and to get markets to like bring him back to like start to get on the lines it might have been obvious for like Kenpachi at that time might have been like the scenario it's definitely not again. So like and due to like Kenpachi ego getting in the way like get like three and I think might have badly gone of smarties and quickly back to the spot. So like due to like plant of these two things like Kenpachi might have prevented to like that one Kenpachi might have only prevented so like not be aware of that Yachu action to like meet up with black markets might have been what might have happened. So like I'm looking at one like markets might have sort of so that I think they might have sort of to like the human world like and like at that point it's a come to like instantly like exactly like how even from the so that is that all this like Lieutenant Fan like project that was able to like send like the station or some of that multi like the moment we made it effectively like and so actually like the moment we actually had made might also be made it to that settlement board at that point. It turns back and the monkeys not might have been so able to that sense that we need that the station or some of that yeah so might have been like the scenario that we were so like straight away like markets might have secret out of like the sound space and the like magic might have just straight away head over to and might have met with like the answer before like the answer follow like the special person of like magic to like the base like the bounce might have been what might have happened and then like they might have talked and like about like all the things that happened in both of their lives like after like Martin had left like this squad and left that so like it might have been what kind of happened was definitely not the brain so like Yakuru might have revealed at that point might have been when Yakuru might have revealed about like Ichigo and like Rokia and like Ichigo saying yeah and like the situation the situation was like Asian like what Asian did and all that is about like a six right and everything like about all this like and it might have it at that point that meeting between that Yakuru and like Martin and like Yakuru might have revealed like Ichigo definitely might have correct so that I'm doing that thing and the film thing back when that Morphe it's what in that can by this what like in like the past like and like even back then, like Nokia as well might have been probably a little bit, like Martin might have no new of especially might have the reimbursement over doubly. So like that way, like I'm looking, like something like this, yeah, for like still, like the person totally knowing about like not only like the first two, so but it's about being like the first two, so but also about like still knowing that whom yeah is that whom is like all might have been through like Mark Luciano definitely my control and so that was moving to like well Ichigo and so had like integrated into like the mansion of like Jin like at that point self I'm looking through that bound wearing like the glasses like focus that what about it should be that it should be that leave those that great number of like fly like things that whose eyes like whose eyes would be most likely camera was never go. So like from within that mansion like I'm might have probably seen what those flies might have seen. And at that point, like I'm looking back on seeing to go as well as like on being like with the streets of the park on like visitor as well as on seeing yeah, like I'm straight away like I'm also bring like definitely markets, it might have been like strategy like markets to like totally like strategy to that to keep like agency like cost on him to like the maximum. So that like the one he would be like planning on totally betraying Jin and teaming up with like to go and fighting off against like Jin's like top army and that at that point since you know think of it like bouncing to like not even see that coming at all. So like in that attempt of like Martinos to like keep Jin's towards him it's like maximum that he might have told Jin at that point on seeing through like most likely a monitor through which like the visuals of like that slide like camera of like that stock number of like the clouds like that visuals might have been Jin and like the boundaries might have seen in the might have been what might have happened. So like at that point, like I'm not it's not might have put on that absolute fake act, like pretending to be that absolutely loyal to like Jim that squad by telling Jim that basically that guy was like what that guy is like wearing is like because it's sort of above and basically that guy is like that sort of a guy is like Ichigo and like that girl is like okay might be along the line might have agreed to that Jen at that point might have been what might have happened. Definitely never put in the Jen. And as to like how Martin knows just like that Martin at that point might have also put on the fake act and might have lied to that Jen along the lines of like being the whole incident of like Ichigo like showing up to like the social society and saving Rupiah and like the saving Rupiah and listening like the whole situation like even like briefly like and like Martin at that point might have told to like Jen along the lines of team language, all those things that happening back when like Martin was in like the South Society. That's like I don't know. Might be along the lines of like the life that like Martin might have told Jin. Totally to like keep things like up to like Martin, be like the Martin. The Philippe Michael Korean mentions were like this will be the story reason for like Jin in like the person like knowing that like the Ichigo is like a substitute. So every time knows like the name Ichigo and like the person Ichigo as well as like the person Ichigo definitely my very impression right now. And also definitely my very impression of for like what might have happened after like that according to my very impression like I believe that like the meeting like the past might have the recent past might have happened something between like Yasuo and Martin where like both of them might have exchanged like the information about their life that and their right after like Martin had like war and like the social writing might have been what might have happened. Like at that point Martin might have revealed to Yasuo about like the dangerous situation like the world of it was like the bound and everything. Marcus not being part of like that bound group, yeah, like Marcus is planning on usually betraying them. So like Marcus whatever to protect Marcus might have told Yatsuo that basically they would like it will be easy for like soldiers to like bring down songs without like knowing like the details about like the wrong kind of and in depth about like how to like take one and fight songs and all that. Be along the lines like I'm with that Marcus might have told Yatsuo and Marcus might have told Yatsuo that he definitely would be needing a lot of extra help from technical trade if that they would have to like they would be able to, they have to like save that work like software and like the network by taking out Jim and like the remaining spot. And the along the line some people that teaching of might have sold Yatsuo at that point. So like Yatsuo might have returned back Yatsuo at that point might have returned back to like the Soul Society and at that point like Yatsuo might have secretly called Kenpachi that is the about like the situation like Marticho and all that, like about like the bounce, like Marticho sitting trapped in like a bounce group, and basically like the danger that like the bounce other two both but you know world as well as like software and all that. So like at that point that it might have been Kenpachi that who might have only decided that basically in order to like fight and bring down like the bounce like basically Kenpachi might have uh like only felt exactly like how Martin was might have felt that basically that Kenpachi might have heard of like the bounce being like not like the soul thing like history of like the soul person like the past like having struggled and even powerful soul was like what happened level powerful soul in that strange having struggled against that bound. Like along the line like Kenpachi might have so like I'm doing like here along like Kenpachi that confidence might have not got in like the way. So like Kenpachi might have decided to this exactly that what Martin have told them is that basically Kentucky as well might not only felt that like they want to like break down like the bounce that empathy would need to like the details about like the bounce. So like the bounce and their thoughts and like maybe their weaknesses but so that can look maybe that way that empathy might have that might be how that it might have been physical amount of friends that might have been empathy himself that might have secretly in like the middle of the night might have entered like the lab of like Mayuri and like went through the data bank of like Mayuri and something to it all. And at that point, I'm still living another creation that at that point, Kentucky might have had that extreme unexpected shock when Kentucky might have what Kentucky might have seen in that data bank of detail of like the bounce might have been research, secret research that Mayuri had might have only done in like the instant back when that Hara was like head of like the research department and Hara was like the squad captain might have been like the officer in the research. So like that bound Reishi that was like found in that Hara in front of like in that Hara lab back then might have been due to that Mayuri he might have been that Hara's assistant back then like secretly having that got himself that about affected like about and might also create an events to attain immortality might have been the like shock of information like and another thing like that even that happening might have been due to like still taking information that like Mayuri might have gone to like the world of flexibility as part of like some other music and like by sheer point for example like Mayuri has like Mayuri might have been returning that Mayuri might have seen like a badly found like a badly injured from definitely might be so like about might have only tried to like attack the Quincy and might have gotten badly injured so like in different like maybe that song back then might have been part of like Shin Spirit. So the like how they develop it. So like that song might have been uh all alone and like might have been badly injured at that point. So that might really might have affected that song and might have really might have done experiment so that might really might have had like high on like the immortality powers of like the song for a long time. For him to like be able to like experiment and steal away and take away that power and make it so uh, definitely my definitely didn't have that as like a goal, definitely like a certain like thinking so like about all this information that like my might have already in like that system past like secretly might have experimented on like about to like attend more and like all this information like might have seen and then go like about details in like the matter and things like and that might have probably shocked empathy. So certainly it might be very so like on top of like this while like shock this might have already shocked empathy like and that's what happened after my as well, like having such experience, Williams to kind of like as well, like undergoing that as well. Might also something that can by the that experience of vision to the look and that can by the towards that towards like a lot of individuals and I'm saying that my teachers then that can by the might have started to think that of like the point of like maybe even that can by the like eliminating that squad captain of that looks like Martin's of like so much like in the becoming like export captain possibly like Martin's to like really not very strong but like so very as well possibly myself considering that Martin's was probably to not only bring down and destroy Kentucky but also maybe to like the entire different whole society and basically to that go up to like the super amount of and later like basically that Kentucky might have started to think along the line like the proposition that Kentucky might have started to go to the point of that Kentucky might have started like to present margins and all like even in like the problem like it's not an like act of like margins of making the like this will also fit it might have been the practical set for like Kentucky for like margins to like finally get to sort of revenge of Kentucky or like Kentucky might have like along the lines of like maybe over after the number of years that markets might have spent to like shut down the road and the market but the down growth might have changed markets and like the potential like markets might actually be a villain and basically like that might be that was maybe the reason for like markets being just like the down growth and it's only days were like markets might be trapped in like that boundary and generally wanting having good intelligence to like bring down like the council and say like the social data in human world, but that maybe like Marxism as well might be part of like wanting to like go along with like Jin to by the half of like by opening like the kind of like people movement and basically to roll out of like the world of all of that Marxism might also have like the same kind of like realistic growth in like the person might be also the extent to which like Kentucky might have felt like the confusion and fear. Definitely due to like the repeated like unexpected betrayal and all that might have been what might have happened in like might be what might be right now since will be going through and like might definitely also might consider the end. That market is not after like such a long time suddenly making less difficult but like the might be attracted by markets according to them all of that markets like new box like the new box would be along the line like and that might be things so that like maybe and like cost bound cost might be expecting like eventually for like either Kentucky or like any other stock captain level sort of to that sort to like the human world and that way to fall into the trap so that like at that point like that founder might be planning on like basically like offering and eliminating that squad captain and indoor elimination to like scale like the soul of like that squad captain. So that like things like squad captains are like highly powered like so because like maybe that so popular setting in like the goal of like the founder which like to like open up that the area open up like the tunnel to like to come of and basically go there like which might be that the up and go of like markets and as well. Possibly like along such extent of like markets and all the great number of years possibly having changed from like the side of straight away from like the side of push to that the side of villains of ideal on the lines of like the fears as well that can by might be having and that as well can by maybe the reason for like during that meeting between like the and like during that meeting between that Yansuro and markets like markets and now attacking uh, yeah, so probably maybe due to that reason, maybe kind of the lines of like the great extent of pressure of reason that can like the right of the due to like the collective repeated like the reason betrayal definitely that like about which like can like found out might be like a especially right of the reality. Yet like I'm still feeling another thing or like I'm definitely heading all to like the human world to like the location of like the base of like gym, the mansion of like gym. But the prevention for like the scenarios that I'm looking for and looking on case for like empathy eventually definitely showing up to find out the truth and see that if that market haven't changed that the like market was black and even if black market has changed like empathy is so feeling sort of threat because like empathy there will be that much of like extreme goodness like within like empathy so like empathy might be also staying along to the extreme extent of like even if black market has strayed away from like the side of good to that side of villains for like empathy to like uh, to bring some sense to like market even if it's very hope and they need to like to bring market to change market and bring market back to like the spot of might be along the line like any of the final decisions that I would like empathy really come down to and like get that decision of empathy and empathy keeping it to himself and empathy and like that was great telling that yeah sure as well as like South Africa and said basically that none of the won't be like going up to like the human world to meet markets not to be along the line can control the total human pay that along the lines of like basically markets not left on the own so that actually the norm of for like markets not in like what would be along the line like can control the total pay gap and even private pay to that yeah so as well like I'm putting like empathy to pay gap as a flat basically that basically along the lines of by telling yeah through along the lines of like this markets, like about the that part and all that. So that in that it won't be that none of the will do that. So to like the market not anymore. We'll get on the line something of that final different kind of like compared to be telling to like yeah to as well as like the problem. So that after playing all the second seven like by the possibly in like the middle of the night will be still free leaving the black spot and basically yeah going up to like the world of like the living and straight away will be going up to and then by the leaves weapons like and so like I'm putting that straight away going up to like the mansion like the base of that gym like the scenario that I'm thinking and that's why I'm the situation being that it's one for by then would be barely getting offered and to be by Jin and with like bounce squad like scenario that I'm looking at. Like if we get that point that I'm looking like and by end up happening and that is like who can budget end up happening that I'm looking like. Ichigo went through getting that boost of like morale boost and with like another side. So like still even with like empathy showing up second still that the Zen and its speed would be still mentally starting to like or like I'm looking like mentally I'm looking like market you know like I'm looking like mentally making this like betrayal after that and basically that fighting against Jin and his like squad alongside the black and fighting. But like I'm still even in that fight like I'm Jin at that point they extremely encouraged with like the betrayal at Black Man. So like I'm making the fight ending up with like Jin finally capturing Martinos and Jin about to like eliminate Martinos and at that point I'm looking like while everybody will be that only feeling that under the connect to an organ and even Kentucky also being badly injured kind of like a situation like another level. So like at that point it's when I'm looking like the unexpected entrance of like Picasso as well as like Yatsu as well as like the entire sector remains quite like quite like in the terms of like Kentucky like constant like change up at that point. And that way like I'm like them or something their end through their end of like I'm putting like markets, you know, getting say to then like the moral bit going of like go and can by general from that go to like seriously high levels and with that moral goes left then finally bring down that change at the level of all of the flag forms for like giving the final scenario that I'm going to monitor it and making the range. And after that like luckily I'm looking like Mantu you know is definitely indeed with like can back to like the home to pay back to like can squad as like a and take it out as like a little like a better product. So like in the scenario that I was in the frame. So like leave like the rain production right now as for like Rukia being disturbed by like Jin like Claire like and that would be totally thinking that Jin would be totally right now it would be totally looking forward to like stealing away the souls of that Ichigo as well as Rukia as well as like the remaining team members of like Ichigo or by their like feel like that for as then finally to that still like the soul of like sure that might be that Jim's plan is definitely my friend which could and that way to like increase of like powers to like the maximum by the time that the tunnel to like material from that for that you feel going up to like super mode to be like definitely Jim's plan right now definitely might be very much so definitely the reason would be definitely due to like that the reason that like Martians might have okay even to like Jim right up like the Grand Show had made their federation to the match it's definitely might be the case definitely members so like in that briefing of like notation of student in that my notation of my own thing about like about how exception is from that Ichigo and Ichigo's through and Rukia as well as that leads my computer impression. So like it would be that glare of like Jin pointing to that feed that the source of that Ichigo and hope by the alive and that way to attain that tremendous punch boost that like Jin would be attaining at that point will be like the reason for that disturbing layer of gym definitely my good very impression right. So that's the feeling my good very impression right now. That's the extreme more confidence got like Udagawa as well as gym in that Udagawa really that like the source of all the power of the current like the definitely it would eventually that after all that information related to the definitely would be eventually seriously that correct on themselves and would eventually train that make the whole thing like defeat by the team of its and not just even the can as well really showing up and joining like the battle against like the definitely my very impression but still thing also. So definitely my very impression right now as for like they even after like I have to reveal that trust like the source of all of that power. So definitely even though definitely so my good impression definitely for like Ichigo to like be able to like bring down all of like the phone during Jin like what Ichigo might have to do will be just to like focus on that focus on destroying that first like if Ichigo manages to like destroy that first like instantly like all the bombs will be getting taken out and getting eliminated including Jin might be like actually I think of like it is definitely my own dream. Yet, like I'm saying that Unagawa revealing all the sense of me being okay with it and even and that walking away and watching like the bad guy staying away from that first all that would be probably is a actually extreme or confidence that me might bring with it. So like I'm saying like definitely even while Unagawa revealed that like trust is like the power source in that thing with like it's about you know getting it like I'm putting that that get the situation between that Sugar might have totally realized but like Udagawa revealed it like Sugar might have totally realized that like it's like the trust that like you need to like destroy that like the trust is force the tweet to like basically bring down all the bound. Then on the night that Sugar might have realized but like Sugar won't be aware of it, might be like actually in the person situation, especially maybe to the and in the different for like the majority of like the which go staying unaware about like if you want to having realized that like the Crest is holds like the future that bring down Jin and also is like the scenario better. So like I'm not something like really straight away right now it comes up like it goes struggling against like the attack of like about like the scenario that and considering for like the scenario to be like being not like theme of like seven or something like that would be into the feeling like saving and putting to shit up but like and like the scenario to be being like the team of like yeah and like the most themselves like it being their team that would be like a feeling in like freeing and saving it should it's like the scenario that I'm making but like even after like saving and freeing it should I like still those like great number of like flying camera, but like things like in chasing after them and corner the like the scenario that episode. So like in a corner like kind of like a situation, I they would all be flat like at that point when I'm looking like the group of like chat up with working I would be showing up if those are you and finding them at that point just like the scenario that I'm but then I'm looking like all of them like would be together showing up to the like Ichigo would be like struggling and will be on the verge of like getting defeated by like the multiple rounds. Like even at that point, I'm end up preparing even at that point, Jim would be like good out not even started even participate in that battle at all. But name my good so like even against like the group attack of like the other bounds itself, like and even like Ichigo by the notice early getting defeated. It's like the solely did like Ichigo to and that fact which I'm referring maybe like Ichigo not realizing that like not being aware that he has to realize that like the weakness of like that trust to like exploit like the trust so that solely like Ichigo not being aware of it, like I'm like even while sad and okay may have to and all of the movie showing up and will be that cut to step to that and even up like them as well when you turn like them as well on them as well you become strongly against like the group of bounce attack. So that when they were all be thinking of like what could be like the weakness of these songs, like how can they bring down all these songs if they down the line that they will be confused while struggling to like hold up against like that like of course like group of songs like the scenario that so like eventually I'm to bring that as they will get forward with the numbers and like Kenpachi showing up. And I'm by then like Kenpachi would have like after going through like that event of that Mayuri something to like found like Kenpachi might have figured out that basically like it's a crust like the bounce like all the of bounce will be having their crust like the source of like the power and all that would be really uh so like the details in about like the bouncing like the level of that Mayuri's that scenario that so like Kentucky with that knowledge will be showing up to that mansion at that point. So like I'm making Kentucky straight away entering and like Kentucky will be only also seeing that battle once like Kentucky will be starting to take part in that battle like Kentucky will get at that point like only talking noticing that crust lying on the floor close to the gym will be like watching like the battle like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like at that point I'm looking like Kentucky totally telling his going through that will be that if the trust like that they should be focusing on trying to like destroy that like the trust is like the source of all this bounce power that like if they destroy that like they could take all the bounce down including Jin will be along the lines like and at that point will be revealed and its numbers are like being at that point that like Ichigo finally being aware that he knew the info from like the start of like the bad spoken like it's like the scenario where I'm doing so like Ichigo at that point like even telling actually even telling that and revealing that to Chad and for him and all of them at that point is like this scenario that and at that point I was like Rukia getting extremely angry and like Rukia even attacking Ichigo in like a comical manner like the scenario that I was doing then the impression of the thing for it to be from that point that like it's going like that will be like targeting that will be having that target and on that sex crust on trying to like exploit that crust is like the scenario that I'm like but like I'm putting by the like Jim will be that taking snatching away that crust and like putting it into like pockets while fighting off against them like the scenario that I'm going to go with and then the different activity for like not only like the remaining all the remaining like Kentucky squad including the actual like showing up to like the battle injury, but like I'm also prepping like an injury for like Randy as well as like Gandhi as well as Hanatara as well showing up into like the match injury towards like the end of like the battle is like the scenario that and the final entrance of the season into like that battle of the Randy from like the group of Randy Gandhi as well as Hanatara which is like the scenario that I'm basically so that that their entrance is what I'm going to find like will be like would be marking that final showdown, final changing of like the battle. And so during that time, like I'm totally think that the battle will be like by then like it should have would have again back to lesson they found. You feel like was like me or him like shortly one of like the bomb about during that battle like one of the bomb like about to eliminate by entering and about to eliminate. So like at that point is when I was like that need to like save for him. So hope that which I would always have that absolute feelings of love and affection towards with like which I would only taking a big from might be the case, especially definitely is enough like that pressure, like all that pressure, like falling on that to at that point to like quickly. It was like another thing at that point, which when the remaining crew members will be only that in general will be only on everything at that point. And you should have when only having to like kick off in such a scenario, even at that point, it's like a scenario that I mean to like that's right need to let's say or something in like being through that absolute near like using the flag when managing to be able to like bring back and access back the flag 20 pounds and stop back the flag 20 pounds being stronger than before that when the selection scenario. And using that like that would be very fortunate. And then after doing that final showdown battle under the like against like Jin under the like it will be not Ichigo but like against Jin after the like stuff to be like the 20 issue that will be that thing again like the scenario that under the like Ichigo and Pro be fighting up against like the remaining power members of like Zen to like the scenario that will be. So like definitely that showdown god battle like one god battle against Zen and the like to be issue that will be fighting that battle. So instead of my 20 power that will be fighting that battle and I'm also like eventually that liberating like 15 doing like that battle eventually we should have like one of should have like putting in like the in that trust that like Biden and the like genuinely had taking it to that in his like pocket would be like will be tracked away and basically at that point I'm looking like and at that point I'm looking and by then I kept like even with like all the files like Arishira Jin would be getting forward without like then would be totally getting forward like he should have like 20,000 that movement in career which is like one flag should have with like one of the final attacks of like he should have would be often like that trust to get thrashed away like at that point I'm looking like it goes through like everyone like one among them that totally destroying that trust like the not that I'm looking at. So like either I'm looking like being one among people or like I'm looking like it being market that would be like the one to like totally destroy that at that point and bring down like on top of that again like simultaneously bring down that all the remaining bond members of like gym at the same time. So it's like painful for people now that I'm with the and that's very much like definitely my particular intention right now. That's what like one of like the snake calls of one of like holding on to like physical like that and making it impossible for to go remote like Uragawa attacking. So like I'm just wondering right now what might have happened to the only since like Uragawa had a sword in his like when charging towards like trying to attack Ichigo like and what Ichigo might have done might have been like to stop that attack like Ichigo might have using the sword like Ichigo might have focused not landed that sword attack of Ichigo not on like the sword of Uragawa but like on the arms of Uragawa might have been what might have happened that look might have surrendered. So like even while Uragawa was like charging towards like Ichigo it still seems like all this bound like fight using their swords like and still so because of that reason like Uragawa won't be an exceptionally skilled at like sword fighting at all might be the case that made my friend so like Ichigo might have had like by Uragawa charge that Ichigo with like Uragawa sword like at that point due to that lack of sword fighting skills of like Uragawa Ichigo might have had like even a greater opening so like I'm remembering that Ichigo, even though at that point might have not been able to like move, Ichigo might have been easily able to land like a sword attack on like one of the arm itself, especially might have been able to do that point. So like that might have been what might have happened. So like that day, that sword strike of that Ichigo might have landed on like the exact arm area of like Konagawa, where like the snake Frida was like wrapped in Konagawa's arm. So like that's so strike of Ichigo onto the thing that might have landed on like the snake Frida, and that way like the snake Frida might have got of eliminated, might have been what might have happened to the instrument. So like I'm definitely putting in the case of like Kuragawa, even though like the source of like the power through like the trust still able to like that source of power to create like the dots within like the trust. That which like even Kuragawa still like Kuragawa power to like create its own turn objects into like dots like I'm going to like I think like Kuragawa actually to be like over this like mind alone. Like I'm going to still even while Uragawa uses his like mind to that. he turned object into snake, like snake towards like because even at that point it will be just like through mind that Udagawa would be even by through mind that Udagawa would be making the decision still to like execute like the decision like there might be like the need of like the snake Freira who would be like an actual snake definitely might be very ambitious. So like I'm looking maybe for like the possibility of like the snake Freira like be an actual snake and not being like a snake towards of like Uragawa. When in actuality, like my very emphasis for like maybe for like the snake, Frida being an actual snake, which will be having like the power to summon snake, or just like summon or just like multiple snake or like at times like by wrapping around Uragawa, like the snake Frida might be able to like read like the mind of that Uragawa. So that way, like whatever Udagawa thinks in his mind to like turn the job object into like a snake or like and that point like it will be like this actual snake Frida that might be executing those commands to like the mind of like Uragawa, making it possible for like Uragawa that way to like turn objects into like snake dolls might be what may be happening. That's what like how Uragawa leads into the power that we might put into the industry. So like I'm looking right now, but that with like Uragawa tapping towards like Ichigo with the sword. I'm also putting right now so that sword strike like sword strike of that Ichigo like I'm putting like the snake clear that might have only got eliminated that way like I'm putting two positive like I'm being more so positive that Uragawa that way losing just like power to like create any more snake lords uh, and basically also losing by losing Reda as like scenario, one possible scenario that I'm doing. Or like I'm doing like through Ichigo. This is like the possibility that I'm doing more to like the other possibility that I'm doing for like that so like of like Ichigo possibly having like eliminated Reda. So like that way like Uragawa straight away getting eliminated as well. If, along with like Reda. It's like the other possible scenario that I'm doing right and that's the reason. So like the new members to the right now is that the bound Koda would be like that set down that and the current would be that would be exactly in charge of that guarding Ishida in like the mansions that we Michael Mariamers. So like I'm putting that by the time that Arupia and like the Morpho will be finally making it towards like at that point I'm not preparing that a fight to not be happen uh between like Arupia and like the monsters towards like Koda in which like I'm putting that the team of that and like the Morpho will be struggling and to anything much at all against like the superior powers of Koga, like the scenario that I'm looking. So like that fight would be progressing and the point like into the fight resulting in like the Koga that's only offering them and like that Koga would be about to like eliminate Rukia. At that very last second according to my memory that referring to possibility either like it being like chat that might so that absolute strength that basically like attack Koga from behind. For example, people that is being either jab and or that would be making their entrance during that point and basically uh post chat attack like and the like chat like only save it of yeah from like that ultimate attack of Black Koga. Then I'm looking for like the group of like chat and ultimate versus like Koga that is happening. There's like one possible scenario that I'm looking at, a possible scenario that I'm looking at from and that last second of like program will be about to eliminate yeah, like I'm looking maybe at that point it being Monty Ichinos that who will be that from showing up to that absolute and basically making it like absolute betrayal through that absolute step like attacking Soga from behind during that very last second. And that way like through that such an ambush attack like with like single attack itself like I'm looking attack solely due to like it being like an ambush attack and with like single attack itself like I'm looking like Monty Ichinos like eliminating Soga like the other possible scenario that I'm looking for to make. So like definitely like so like that way like I'm looking like from that point on just when I'm looking and like the interaction between like Marty Ichinos and like okay and others will be happening where like I'm looking at yeah and others like will be talking finding out that like Marty Ichinos is in fact like a soul breaker. And on top of that, like I'm looking maybe for like a remote positive, like maybe Marty Ichinos himself, like maybe revealing to that okay and others that he is like and uh, the connection of like the squad towards like campaign symptoms is also like uh that maybe even revealing that as well and it's when the other stuff is finding out that as well so much is so good that can be just possible scenario that about the correct and that was kind of and from that point on like them not working together as a team but that's when I was super like marketing to be only same and like I'm looking at that point like we start getting clear and like come to at that point and like yeah totally attending her like Nova try to like use Nova to like save and get Ishra out of like the mansion but like right as like at that point of when I'm looking like by yeah, and also maybe looking for now but like mobile bit of links at that point of like the scenario that I'm looking because like I'm preparing that like spy camera like flight uh that's the kind of tool that belongs to one of like the bound members wearing like a glasses like he might not only send that few of such camera by like all over like the building. Definitely might be very impressive for like all over like financial and like even by like the Kian brothers have like managed to like escape from like the from the Ichigo was like and that even at that point like that at that point I'm sorting like that found member just like wearing like the glass and like we might have straight away sent like one of his like flying souls like just like the eye with like the case eye for like face like it would definitely be camp up definitely I wouldn't be able to do it. That way like if you might not only send one of those flights after like if yeah and like the also it might have been not like that so if that way through him like I'm doing like tip and other like maybe then figuring out like uh, that basically that about like the betrayal of like Martin is also like makes like betrayal. So that way like through that fly like and then even possibly even right now as like okay and all of them have the strategy of like using one of like once they get towards like finding Ishira like at that point he used like Nova Cross to like say Ishira and get this out of the mansion like including like all this will be like totally getting overthrown by like the remaining bound members where like Ishira right now where like it's right now fighting off the games like Udagawa is definitely going to the English so like that's the and by Ichigo would be busy fighting against like Udagawa and maybe like a bunch of other eventually against like a bunch of other towns. Like I mean at that point Silvan was that one of like the bounce will be like totally secretly slipping away from like that home and basically would be going after where like Tianda was busy heading off to and like ambusting that the bound member of the facility that was like affecting Nova. And with that absolute stealth and that way like that by the time that Rukia and like others would be like praying and praying it like empathy by them. Like while if you don't have that point that like they will be looking around and realizing that like Nova has left disappear. There's like such enemies scenario what I'm doing and I'm saying like being at the lesson right now and for like my 18 right now telling Rukia that that's about their sense like a trace of along with like the like the like not teaching right now sitting on that app is face acting just to like totally trick that that camera like flight of like camera like flight thought belongs to like that bounce with like the glass because like monkey might have only seen like that flight like the camera like fight dot like from behind where like Rukia and others standing might have been like definitely might be directly so like to totally trick and convince that that through that camera like to can convince that found member wearing like the glove who is right now like the person will be at like the front location of like the building mansion where like it was like fighting against Udagawa to trick him and that way through such trickery to like trick and that get trick remaining down will be the reason for like I'm delivering right now that starting also be putting on such an absolute fake acting right now definitely my preference so definitely my considering everything right now is that like what might have happened would be that definitely taking into my consideration that like the bounce that's like guarding Ishida might have definitely been Koga, definitely might consider. So like definitely this might be things will be right now going according to like to Marquisino's plan. But like Marquisino might have probably betray like Koga and like launch an ambush attack on like Koga. But Koga might have been guarding Ishida like ambush and what might have happened would be like Marquisino like in a single and predictable manner, like might have attacked Koga from behind and might have badly injured and might have maybe tied up Koga or like might have been what might have happened. Certainly, nothing very much. But definitely, Koga in the be in like a some kind of state in like the very same rope as that of like it and like everything that like Marty would be saying would be like in saying that Koga is like a traitor and could be all part of like Marty fake acting and would like the remaining bounce. So like I'm feeling right now itself for like that fly like camera doll like I'm looking like the eye like it right now it's like flying off back towards like the bound with like the cloud to the location where like the bound with the cloud like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like that way like at that point I'm looking for like Martin knows like totally stopping to like say like and that being like frozen and I'm looking like at that point like Martin knows like quickly taking like a $10 to like the road where like it should have and like the where I'm looking them talking me Or and that point I'm referring market, like couldn't telling okay and the about like about that fly like spy camera like flight that was like trailing after them and secretly following the flag. At that point, Market nothing revealing that like okay and the so like at that point like okay and the talking you realizing that like Market no it's on like the side of group it's on their side will get on the lines like I'm looking them probably so figuring it out and I'm looking like Marcus was taking them to like the room where like the tied up and I'm looking there like Marcus was like okay would be himself like would be free and like I'm looking like at that point like I'm looking maybe for like definitely possible black markets at that point self like okay eliminating like the trap and tied up like Koga at that point so that's just an apps where so like that way like markets was like favorite like markets was self like white for Canada would be hoping that like they have finally saved it and that now they can like okay get it out of like the mental like at that point is when I'm looking that no them to take noticing that all of a sudden like no about totally the same and that will be totally due to lag as lag of report as like a backup like I'm looking like the bound wearing like clouds might have spent not one but like two flights with like the camera like I might have been like the case especially in the payment. So like I'm doing like that while markets might have totally might be right on totally good amount of that up with fake acting and like I'm looking at that point that one like with like the camera like I should be like legal at that point while the market is putting on the big acting like at that point like it will be like one more like spike like spike would be that skill but there should be different like the guy with like the bound with like the glass since like market is not just about like the other like since like market is just like a filter for like him like that guy that bound with like the glass might have always had that secret suspicion coming towards towards like market was even from right off the bat, like right from like the start while Jen had like probably introduced like market to like the remaining bounds and like might only grab to like the remaining bounds that basically that market from that day on would be that big part of like that squad like about like market having saved Jen and all that. Like even then like I was doing that definitely the bound that the bound guy with like the last like he might have been still even back then might have been part of like the squad of Jin and I'm looking like even back then we might have had like a substitution towards like marketing. So like I'm looking like a substitution might be present even to like the very different type like definitely substitution. That way like I'm doing that bound guy with like the glasses on with like him hiding one more like spy like flight with like the eye camera and that can be doing that. And that way like I'm him totally that way hiding that flight and that way like him totally like realizing that his solution connecting to like marketing of the send that time was like one like marketing of will be only falling for his trap and basically one like marketing of will be like helping by the time marketing of will be helping like at the end of the day basically will be like free like Kishana by then like I'm looking like definitely like the bounce number versus like the glass like actually like him totally would be like sending would be revealing that like market like a trade up to like one other account and I'm looking by then like one of the extra bounce on the different like will be without only affected by then. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for the correct and the thing. And that's definitely not the thing that I'm right now. So like even the black market most right now, I think anticipate like the three more profiles that like the series space like giving off the like yeah. Still my good reimbursement for like to the old part of like markets not like fake acting to like so different and convince like the bounce because of like that flight like that flight with the ice that all to like that bounce of like the glasses like bound member was like the cloud like and given that fly would be definitely present there and like Marquis would have only spotted that fly. So like all this will be that up with big acting that like Marquis will be doing through that trick and convince like that fly no it's like might be the case certainly my person very that sitting on. So definitely my very impression that like eventually like the future that once like just like absolute full throat strength would be like returning back to like at that point and the clean predict for that to only happen in like the distances. And once that happens, I'm looking like at that point that everyone like the energy and power increase of like that spike and like that energy and power increase of like Rukia from like the current level of power of like Rukia will be that increase will be so extreme that I'm looking like that only talking not only like chat and document and even Ishura and Karangi, but also like it's probably talking Ichigo as well like the scenarios that I'm doing. That like a totally different one like okay would be eventually in like the distant future will be getting back through powers like I'm thinking at that point that sharp spike in Rukia strength resulting in that Rukia reaching equal level of strength of that of Ichigo at that point. This is like the scenario that I'm looking. And that point like Ichigo and Rukia strength being absolutely equal is like the scenario that percentage of scenario that I'm looking. Yet like I'm looking even from that point on like I'm looking like still Ichigo would be having like a lot more of like room for like growth in terms of like power which comes out importing that kilo eventually in that the future even after that like definitely it's going to be like slowly getting more and more still will be getting more and more strong than yeah which and we're only putting from that point on like the gap between that strength between that Ichigo and Rukia once again starting to happen and something like to switching on rating as like time passes to like the point like the gap will be getting once again getting to like the extreme level towards like the very distant future. But like Ichigo at that point like being far stronger than Rukia would still be like under the ranks. It would still at that even at that point would be like the second strongest half Ichigo in like the entirety of like Ichigo's gang. It was definitely my top amazing. So like even at that point I'm preferring like yeah, being far stronger than Chad or Hime and even Renji as well. And if it as well, if it like still distant future, very distant future scenarios that I was able to pick and that will be like like but really kind of in the impression right now for like marketing also right now praising Jin so much to like the experiment telling if yeah that she if you will not like a path like I'm definitely just like marketing was still will be totally putting on where I'm to take it and because like I'm looking the exact orders that like Jin might have given to that including marketing was to all the bounds like the exact orders that like Jin might have given them might have been once like the in orders to be like showing up like at that point to like eliminate or each and every single one of like the friends of Shira might have been like the dark orders that like Jin might have given to form some all of the remaining bounds as well as like markets you know like some later. Might have been what might have happened if this might be correct. Because like it might have been far too obvious for like Jin that like after like capturing figured out that like instead of friends would that lead to be like showing up to that match and to attempt to like save Indra. Might have been like one thing that might have been far too obvious for like for Jin is definitely my preference. So Jin might have given that actual mod to Lack, including Margation as well as other remaining powers to Lack to eliminate each and every single one of the green sort Yet like I'm looking like right now, Lack will be definitely able to Lack Margation also right now who will be like not big acting and who will be shortly even to the person will be having all that goodness lying within him. Margation also since like leaving since like leaving therapy and like it's also in like the husband path like even to the person like Martin also might have definitely not got changed at all. Definitely might have prescription. This might be the reason for like Martin right now when telling okay that like she that we won't let her pass when in actuality order given to like Martin also might have been to like eliminate all of them. Definitely my preference and might be the reason for like even after like attacking and defeating like the three more like still like the fact that Martin also like then eliminate any of like the models will be also later definitely might be the number might be the number right now as for like markets not right now like even going to the extreme extent of like telling Sophia about like not just about like markets being a sole but like also about like the fact that markets uh ideology and like the previous captains like ideology and basically how as like how markets like about like markets the connection with like and all of that like basically that all that would be for me for the thing like marketing of like basically causing like marketing to like have like to not be free from that very same suffering that marketing had back when like in the distant past when marketing had like supposed to take in marketing of like objection. It's definitely my memory underscore like marketing would be like teaching of staying or this to like but yeah from the marketing of just like right now being revealed to be seeing for like first time in its life would be totally lack of venting out of black markets, like due to like inner frustration and due to like that inner pain and suffering that like would be still alive within like markets, to like the person connecting to like then budget. Definitely my own very much. It would be like I'm something like the suffering of like that absolute the feeling of suffering of due to that absolute disappointment in like Genbaji and due to Genbaji like the loss of like precious like previous captain as well. It's definitely my very impression. So definitely I'm the like in the sport fight battle situation like I'm the like and definitely I'm the like I'm sitting the mention that like Manchester would be totally obviously would be able to like sense or like will be able to like see like one of like those flight dogs belong to like that last found member like that found member of like during like class like fly like sound like basically from like the corner like only recording this and watching all this like basically like my person of might have probably seen it and so like we will only continuing the like fake acting and basically to trick that song. It's definitely my consider and culture so definitely and definitely I'm still thinking about the dream so that like recently like markets you know like markets you know like so only recently like making this like the scripted such a respectable all the way up to like 45 so we definitely might have been like markets you know like try for like help to like only eliminate the all this due to like the extreme threat the gin and like the remaining bound pose to like both not only like the human world but also to like the social society. So like the through like with like gin right now almost like reaching the completion of this like so close to that completing this like ultimate goal to like make it to like to Hugo and like that way to have like the current Hugo of that of summit and have like all the horrors like narration to like the human world and all that. So it would be probably the cry of help by Martinez, who might have been that who might have sent that time back, might have or after like Martinez have joined like the group of like Jim and basically this like might have been a sheer accident like Martinez joining the group of Jim without realizing that the winner within like Jim. And then basically on realizing that what Martinez might have done might have been like this in that time to like the reason person like Martinez what he might have done might have been due to like his ego getting in the way, like he might have tried like multiple times, like very great number of times, like he might have tried to like okay get hold of that trust belongs to in which like the source of like the all powers and all this like forms including in is contained in like to like only to get a sense on that crust to like destroy that crust like after Martinez might have put that out himself might have attempted multiple times over like the course of a great number of years might have been what might have happened. And like Martin of might have failed each and every single time. Yet like I'm doing for only by sheer like I'm looking at neither Jen nor like any of the like bound team members like might have realized about like this like multiple great number of attempts by Martin of to like destroy like Martin of might have done multiple times in etc. It's definitely might have very unfortunate definitely my doctor impressions were like not easy student to like the person might have definitely not or been able to like forgive empathy even after all this great number of years passing like still even to like the person like not easy enough to be still of like that very same stand of like not being able to like forgive empathy at all but like I'm doing like not easy enough still would be in like the situation in like the person where like not easy enough have would be feeling as if like he has no other option but to even rely on the help of like someone whom Marquis would be seeing as like such a villainous person still solely due to like from Marquis point of view still market also meeting that like just solely due to like even while empathy like market also be seeing empathy as like such a hard much villain like still solely due to like empathy not being as much of like a villain nowhere near being as much of like a villain as like change as like change and like the remaining pounds like solely due to the reason like like market due to that solely due to that aspect the prices would be like make would have made it like special person like detectable to like that way and that way that will be the respiration of like is seeking the help of like the whole society to bring down like about Jin and like the remaining bounds and their role. So definitely my good theory and person. So like this whole just like that towards like empathy and just like refusal to like forgive empathy at all. Like I'm just trying like with like Marcus, even to like the person maybe only thing that even if that empathy shows himself shows up and basically even if that that collectively that they manage uh, to like repeat like the bounce and even if like it ends up being like empathy that ends up repeating Jin and basically that way like even if it just eventually ends up proof empathy that like all that happens and basically still even then like under the point of league Jin will be only might have also for things that's kind of the remote possibility as well. Definitely one solution. But like Maggie knows way of like the mindset even to the person that like even if such any the scenario even happens still Marquis will be like he refusing to neither forgive empathy for like uh, eliminating like the acceptance and of like Marquis as well. Uh, as well as like not be like Marquis would be also would have fixed in his mind that like even if empathy after doing so and after bringing down Jim like even if like empathy asked like Marquis to return back to like the spot still Marquis would have only fixed in his mind to like actually pursue that offer of empathy and who like still remain with like and hold on to his like this like to like empathy. That leave my good career. Yet like empathy from like all this like all these things that like Marty's might not only plan in his mind to still not forgive empathy like and all that like I'm probably but empathy himself focus like actions like I'm like without words like I'm empathy focus like actions like I'm doing like the fucking the great delay I'm like eventually I'm delivering at that like Jin and his like bound to be progressing that eventually I'm delivering like can by himself like showing up with like that short in that to like save Marty's more than in like the scenario side and can by only proving that that Kenpachi has half and Kenpachi has all that empathy and all that like I'm doing Kenpachi only showing all of that through his like action and that like Kenpachi has like changed not as well like I'm doing like all this like I'm looking like Kenpachi proving through his like actions by like definitely at the film like clinical scenario to be like Jin totally finding out about like Matthew Jin of being raised up and as like Jin will be about to eliminate Matthew Jin that very last second Kenpachi showing up and like Kenpachi like saving Matthew Jin as well as like I'm driven Kenpachi keeping my like only going through such extreme injuries and suffering by the to be the strength of Jin solely to like protect like Martin also like the scenario and Martin also give with nothing like Zimbabwe like putting like life on the line and like all that risk and going through all that extreme suffering solely for like Martin. Martin is not which is not probably with nothing that like right in front of us just like scenario that I'm saying and that would be what like under the only changing Martin's and like would be totally making Martin's maybe even feel guilty and like would be straight away Martin's will be able to not need be straight away like that within that Martinez for second that is straight away getting destroyed. On top of that, like Martinez even cheering back about like leaving about slightly back then and all that as well. It's also definitely my personal reaction. So like I'm considering definitely one that would be over Martinez will be even apologizing to like Kenpachi. It's also like feeling good. And even asking Kenpachi if like he could like join Kenpachi's squad and Kenpachi at that point would be only when I was considering like Kenpachi with like a smile like telling Martinez that this week he had even showed up right now to like take Martin's back to like the squad but Martin's like this or not along the lines of the different like Kenpachi like totally that making that dialogue to like Martin's at that point. So would be like totally feeling overwhelmed and will be with that emotions and that to be tearing up as well and to be finally feeling that absolute joy and free of like all that suffering that Matthews has felt almost possible like even the scenario that I'm looking on and not in real life. Even the prediction right now is that there might be one crucial factor about that past fight between like Kenpachi and that like, captain of like Kenpachi squad, which was certainly like Kenpachi becoming the captain. Like I'm considering that like even Marty Jonas would be like totally unaware of that he is my good friend. Which like Kenpachi might have not spent like revealing to like Marty Jonas even while Marty Jonas was like blame Kenpachi for like elimination of like the ex captain and like it's cost like Martin to like even leave the spot. Like I'm suffering like and leave the whole society like even then like Kenpachi I'm suffering might have been probably hiding to take filter from Martin because like uh and Kenpachi might have done so even solely due to that whole image that like Martin had of like of like of like that captain like for Kenpachi to not destroy and to not have Martin even more might have been like the reason for like that genuine empathetic side putting that Kenpachi might have been like the reason for like Kenpachi only keeping that argument for about like the ex-captain from Martin might have been what might have happened in like last on the perimeter. So like what might have happened in that during that whole fight between like Kenpachi and that captain might have been that like it might have not even been a scenario where like Kenpachi had challenged that captain to like the duel to a fight for like Kenpachi with like absolutely no restrictions and no rules forbidding elimination or anything. In through which like Kenpachi became like squad captain, like it might have not even been a scenario where like Kenpachi actually went up to like that squad captain and challenged him with that absolute desire to become a squad captain. Might have not all been the case, especially like then. But like what might have happened might have been like Kenpachi might have been with Kenpachi's obsession towards like the fighting end up killing himself like Kenpachi might have been always trained focused on training and like might have been spending all of his like free time just training and training alone, just leaving my own lane. So like that captain, that Maki love so much. Like I'm currently, even though he might have been genuinely a good soul and like good at heart, like I'm currently might have been also an overconfident person as well. definitely might have been like it is back then. It's definitely my brain. So like I'm saying, like he might have just like what ideology that like we and like he can't share like something that he might not only notice how Gen Y Z like totally straying far away from that such an ideology. And so like I'm something like to instill that ideology to be like Gen Y Z by making Gen Y Z learn about that ideology and like to have like Gen Y Z embrace that ideology through like the hard way by having Gen Y Z used to like the to have a fight with like the that expert cabinet by Gen Y Z listen to that expert captain and basically find that expert captain might have been that way might have been planning on that day on defeating after that defeating Kenpachi in that duel to lack of lead teach and tell Kenpachi that basically it's not just sheer training alone that to get one strong up but like embracing all this ideology and fighting through such a manner that basically would be like taking one to such great heights of that event superior and breaking all sorts of barriers of that reaching superior strength. Would be along the lines of the thing that the captain might have planned to like teach Kenpachi the hard way by challenging Kenpachi for that fear and basically for the offering and defeating Kenpachi and that way teaching Kenpachi kind of that way. And that way to like change Kenpachi like that extra captain might have been like the person that might have gone up to like Kenpachi and like might have challenged Kenpachi to this duel. Might have been what might have happened. So definitely might have been and then like it might have been that expert captain who is like extreme overconfidence that might have even told Kenpachi that like about like there being absolutely no rules at all for the duel and like not absolutely there being absolutely no forbidding from like elimination either. No such rules at all for that duel between the will be along the lines of the like it might have been like that export that might have gone up to Black Empathy and might have challenged Empathy, to which Black Empathy might have straight away accepted. Might have been what might have happened. So like that way during that duel like under the Black Empathy might have surpassed all expectations and might have crushed like that or confidence like that export happened and that way might have been how Black Empathy initially might have in that duel might have only or for like that export captain and might have eventually ended up eliminating that export captain. Might have been what might have happened. So like I'm like it might have been after like the whole challenging and it might have been after like the fight between like Kenpachi and like that um and that export captain was like going on that it might have been only at that point that I'm looking like Maki might have even learned of like this fight even happening and going on. And basically it might have been only once like Maki showed up that like I'm looking like Pakistan might have certainly witnessed like empathy starting to shortly or for like for the captain might have been what might have happened and like so all markets might have been like empathy only offering that squad captain and like empathy only defeating and eliminating that squad captain. So like markets might have straight away came to like the conclusion because of like empathy like obsession like of killing and fighting empathy might have been far too forgiving for like every lieutenant in that spot might have known of this certainly member. So like straight away might have been a scenario where like Maki straight away assuming and straight away coming to the conclusion that like it was like Kenpachi with Kenpachi that has to insensitive create to be like the squad captain that might have like totally repeatedly challenged and might have pressured and forced like the squad captain into like having that duel with like Kenpachi considering like Kenpachi totally offering and eliminating like that squad captain and becoming so new squad captain might have been what might have happened would be along the lines of like an a direct assumption that like Martin might have taken and like that is like being formed against him, but it might have been what might have happened. Certainly, I could say. In actuality, what might have happened would be like the contrary to like what Marquis would be totally even to that. Might be the case definitely I can say that. So, and I'm definitely preferring like in the present like in the fight against like the bounce like Kenpachi would be going through the putting that taking all that absolute risk and putting his life on the line solely to like save Marquis like I'm doing once like the fight would be over like I'm doing that and Maggie was trying probably finding out about this through, but not through Kenpachi, but like I'm might be probably through Yachiro that like I'm thinking that while Kenpachi would be like by then once by the time that the battle would be over, like Kenpachi and the would be badly injured and would be probably better than like scenario set up. So like at that point I was on like it being most likely Yachiro that I'm looking like in the revealing one is through to like Marquis, at that point. Just like scenario that I was and at that point, like I'm saying, like a Marquis, feeling that absolute extreme feeling of guilt and regret for like doing everything that he did, that for like disliking Kentucky so much and for like living like a fraud and from society. and all and basically like at that point like my teacher was like in tears like basically going up to like the better empathy and like totally like telling that absolute authority to like empathy and like totally pleading to like empathy to like take him back to like the spot that like he will be like it will be an honor for him to like serve such an incredible spectacle like empathy would be along the lines of that at that point telling empathy and I'm like empathy at that point, the Kenpachi telling him to like stop talking because for Kenpachi calling it like totally cheesy, like it's kind of cheesy with the end of the lines of the Kenpachi telling him and telling him to like stop and basically Kenpachi telling him that the moment that Kenpachi decided to show up to like the world of like for the Black Kenpachi had totally decided that while he would be heading back to like the Soul Society, he would be like taking Marquis Notes but would be along the line that and Kenpachi at that point like revealing to Marquis Notes who would be smiling through with that absolute joy through his like tears with like the scenario that about the game. So like definitely one to the rain right now for like Ichigo using flash step move and like Jin straight away recognizing it like and to bring that but he still didn't remember the understand that they that be through Monkey to know that like who as well who totally knowing that the flash step technique through which like I'm looking at definitely one that Jin might have seen that technique of like Monkey for like the first time Jin might have asked like Monkey as soon as what that technique is and I'm it might have maybe in a scenario where like Jin and like found team along with for the marketing of my doubt or want to like do all sorts of like nations that opportunity the big like of the so like still might have made like markings along with like the remaining bound like all sorts of like maybe kind of like villain mission those sort of league members so definitely those methods like markings might have like mostly in the questions like margins was might have chances absolute path to like leave might have been the target like alive without eliminating them using such as the step. But like I'm thinking during like the fights that way that markets had during those missions of like Jin. And the point might have been when like Jin might have noticed like markets is also like flash stuff uh technique definitely might be the approach. So like this might be how Jin in like the person Jin event as like about knowing that about like flash technique will be through such a manner. So definitely marketing of us will definitely be having that in the flash technique. It's definitely my good friend. That definitely my putting the real person right now. For like it's just like kind of situation of realize nation and as well as not doing a black match that created like they can feel like a friend. This situation is what I'm also trying to be putting in getting that after training kind of like a situation right now because like the situation is what I'm trying to be like if you are right now in like a corner like kind of like a situation like the situation is what I'm trying to be allows it to go to be able to do that giving that maximum push to and pressure to Ichigo which would be like resulting in that Ichigo finally being able to once again access to like bandage or punches time in like the human world. There's like the scenario that I'm doing. So like the I'm going to stand I'm going to like Ichigo would be only be able to like defeat like Udagawa using the like tank types might act finally being able to like access like tank types like in scenario plan able to so like I'm saying that with like the bank types having revealed to currently having revealed to have two stages like I'm doing that very first stage of itself of like it was like tank or one of like only after things like finally managing like access like bank of using like the very first stage attack itself like I'm doing like to go would be only for current and eliminating free rate as well as like Odagawa straight away. Like killing the Senat that I'm also probably correct and my percentage right. Probably my perception for like that way from the memory like Ichigo would be actually finally be able to like access like bank accounts like at that point like Ichigo's like speed the brain skyrocketing to like the point where like it will be way faster than the final reflex that reaction speed of like Odagawa free like snake like the scenario that about it. So like which was skyrocketing to that point of that events of patching that scale of that trade like the scenario that I'm explaining. And that way that surpassing of like the scale of like to go for the first stage of like a good bank about making it possible for like to be able to like make it towards like redirect and Uragawa and do that way or and eliminate like the scenario that I'm looking for and my so like Jim right now telling to go that they do inevitable that like the social society would try to like stop them like especially as for like specifically my presentation as for like how that might have happened maybe from like the ancient past where like definitely that among like the bounds like and there might have been a great number of questions of like how who might have wanted all this like power who might have on figuring out primarily feeling of the soul of that individuals when they are alive, like basically having them way more strength. Like basically at that point, I'm just trying to people that to be the strength like I'm that might have probably been in like the ancient past, like that might have been only in a great section of that found that might have like done so as stole away like souls of like individuals when they were alive. And that way, like I'm sorry, collectively simultaneously with the great sharp increasing like strength of like those section of bounds, like also simultaneously that the whole tunnel to that to the Mondo as well might have greatly expanded, and that way great number of followers might have been to like the human body and action capacity. That resulting in like basically that might have resulted in like basically a lot of like the soldiers was like basically who back then might have been in charge of like taking care of like the whole not being able to like do their job at all and basically like that way with like the uh that way with like the whole is like all this great number of followers might have been to like that is important a great number of followers might have like eliminated a lot of like the source like and spirits and might also something like that lack of balance like being created between like the human world and like the soul society and since like both of them both the human world and soul society needs their balance to like exist like I'm going straight away like the huge army of like sort of might have been deployed to like eliminating the mountain in that fight like I'm saying like sort of might have also taken that might have easily been able forward by like the bounds might have been what might have happened and might have been at that point that explosion might have strongly realized that extreme severe strength of like the bounds. It's a mean something like that way like Soul Reapers might have sought the help of like frequencies to eliminate like the bounds and that way like the majority of like the bounds like the help of like the frequencies might have sort of eliminated might have been what might have happened. Yet like I'm even at that point like that whole rushing of like watching into like the different world by all those great number of followers like I'm doing that might have resulted in like clashes that might have resulted in like more great number of followers like really eliminating a lot of the twinsies because like I'm doing like naturally like it's typical about the premise that like naturally by default like bound to be having the power that the power with the bound to be far advantageous to like the power of the sources then naturally the power of like the twinsies will be by default will be like advantageous against like the bound that might be the case definitely might be the case. Yeah, like when it comes to like photos, like I'm doing like none of like whether like the bounce or like those because or like whether it's like the twenty like none of them will be naturally having any sort of advantage against like photos might be the case definitely my opinion. So like I'm doing like even if like potential help like once like the majority of like, the ones might have got eliminated still all those great number of photos might have cost like a lot of like the twenties to get eliminated and that way like the fight between like the remaining twenties and like the whole uh, might have only happened. And I'm looking like and the player was looking like once like the majority of like those bounds might have got eliminated by the swing like at that point like the found like two Bongondo as well might have gotten up. But still by that like a lot of like followers might have but then and there been to that the human world might have been what might have. So that way like through that fight between like the twenties and like the followers might have been what might have been between in like the past in like the show. Definitely that way like the twenties like lack of that controlling I think that is resulting in like once again like the balance between that and that way without controlling like the elimination of like all of the differences are resulting in like that once again that lack of balance being formed between like the human world and like society and at that point like all those like sort of people like in the next week even the kids kind of like they might have that not even bothered to like because like I'm looking for like the sort of factor like I'm looking like they might have like might have been such a huge trouble for like the sort of that like they might have no matter what how much like the squad captains and all of them might have tried like they might have only fought against like the great number of bounds so like but like the this might have helped like the because eliminate like the bounds like I'm looking at that point the total might have totally gotten half bit comfortable and might have totally got that absolute huge ego on their like realistic kind of like achievement kind of like a feeling that they might have had that like they might have not at that point like I'm looking while once eventually like the eliminating like the whole of might have resulted in like that lack of balance between like the human world and like society. During that time, like I'm looking like the so because with the experience people might have not even bothered to uh, might have not even bothered to even talk and make like the twenties. understand and that might not even bother to like them not even have them have no been revealed to like not even bother to like actually talk to them to things and to make them aware about the console and all that like they need like the show has been revealed that maybe all that might have been also due to like the extinction issues of like the phone because that might have been back then as well as like their deep insecurity, sweet insecurities connecting to like frequencies and jealousy connecting to like the frequencies that might have also existed back then due to like the phone who might be seeing them as like the strongest like not being able to like defeat bounce and having to like use the help of Quincy to like take out like the and all that might have been also like the reason for like them totally taking out that frustration on like the Quincy's at that point by like without even bothering to like talk to like the Quincy's like straight away eliminating like them from the Quincy's and that might have been what might have happened 70 minutes that I'm sitting with. So like this might be what that right now would be when telling Ichigo about uh, like the hidden meanings behind like the dialogue that Jin right now tells Ichigo as for like it's inevitable that like most of the people will be targeting wrong. Definitely my Bulgarian, definitely my Bulgarian right now as well like Udagawa, including that he has defeated Ichigo like Udagawa when the iron that like trust that contains like the source of all the strength of all the bounds like and that would be totally to that Udagawa interfaces and that time might have might have wished for like a chance to be able to steal away like the soul of Jin and for like Kodagawa to be like that absolute ultimate ruler and for like Jin and all of them to be his like henchmen might be like the subordinates might be what like Kodagawa might have always seen the lead spot. So like when right now it's like Kodagawa eyeing that crust on like the floor like and like Kodagawa walking towards that crust like and right now Kodagawa definitely attempting to like quickly give that using his mind like instantly giving that order to like Frida to like totally to like send one of like the snake doll to like bring that quickly bring that like crush towards like Kodagawa so that like if the Kodagawa with everything then like if Kodagawa has like that crush into like constant at that point like the entire thing of like the control of like the source of like the power of all the dolls like all the bounds including Jin would be all on like Kodagawa's hands so that like Kodagawa will be totally that way. I'm considering right now would be attempting to like take control that way, like just enough variable. So like I'm doing Ichigo who's like currently badly defeated in like a defeated and sideline kind of state. Still I'm different like Ichigo we had more than enough lead to like keep going, definitely not different. So like I'm doing like while still Ichigo like in like currently in like a current and sideline kind of state, like I'm doing like Ichigo right now totally witnessing that opponent Kodagawa who had this lead done all that damage to like Ichigo that easily getting eliminated by quickly getting eliminated by just like the scenario setup. So like definitely right now the people like for like as like Kuragawa will be attempting to like steal away that like and something like Jim with such absolutely would be like stopping Kuragawa with just a single attack. Something like Jim will be eliminating Kuragawa like the scenario setup. And at that point I'm just like in a villain manner like I'm like all the remaining bounds I'm just like at that point would be laughing like the exact like how the villain typically had laughed on realize on the realization of like the news of like the elimination of like those two bound members of like their teams with like the waterfall power like in a similar manner like the interesting manner like can also be laughed once like Kodagawa would be getting eliminated like the scenario so like after that Kodagawa might in actuality be like the upper like those two bound members who got eliminated with like the waterfall power like after then like I'm going like the next weakest link in like the entirety of like the team of like James might actually be Kodagawa. Definitely might go to the research. My research said like Yoshino in actuality might be even stronger than Kodagawa. It might be due to like Yoshino going through all that suffering in her mind like and that might be the reason for like whole suffering might have affected like Yoshino's like strength and powers when in actuality like the two levels of strength and powers of Yoshino might be even that of such a level that will be even surpassing that of Unagawa. Also definitely talking to that and so like that might be the case for like Unagawa even being able to like surpass I think that in that sort of extraordinary fight I think that we had I think the three months of Syrian pressures were like probably maybe due to like Unagawa being like the next week was linked like everything that maybe this possibly maybe due to this reason like and like Jim might have not even maybe at all nowhere near to like the true levels of like Jim's strength at all to specifically Kodagawa it's definitely my preference. And that was being the reason for like Udagawa, according to my preference right now, could be attempting to like steal that trust and take control, which will be like something that like for the remaining songs members will be seeing as like such an uh, absolute mistake. Like they will none of like the other songs would even dare to do due to that possibly the remaining songs being well fully aware of like the full extent of like things that strength and power. And like might be like the case also that me my victory impression. Well, but me my victory impression right now is for like right now still that precious crust belong to contains all things and all the cloud data. Definitely perfect. Right now, I'm for different that won't be like the original trust, but like that would be a fake trust that like Jin might have realistically might have in like the person like Jin might be of like the mindset of like having like absolutely no more need for like Uragawa. This definitely is my favorite. Because like it's like Jin and Uragawa and being like living together for so long. I think like out more so like they might have been living together for so long that basically by now like Jin might be totally when fully aware of like and especially when like Kodagawa is mostly like a butler and that way like only like being near and close to Jin like I'm different the famous friend Jin by now might have probably figured out like the character of like the person the kind of person Kodagawa is and basically like the hidden intention that Kodagawa might have taken the within on this entire time to like while desperately looking for like an opening to like stage that correct with definitely my opinion the realm definitely Jay might be well enough aware of this, that like Punagawa is like the kind of person who's like what be patiently looking for like an opening to like betray Jin. That's definitely my concern. So like Jin right now as like the whole Punagawa Ichigo battle fight before it began, like the fact that Jin probably casually just threw away that precious crust of like Jin to like the floor. But currently like definitely while like the battle between like Jin and uh while the battle between like Kodagawa and Uchigo might have been going on like under the like Jin might have while Kodagawa was like totally distracted from like the crust and like was like only focused on like the battle against like Uchigo. At that point I was like Jin might have consciously like replayed that crust the original crust was like okay crust using like Jin power to settle like necessary ambition. So like the original crust would be right now like the person would be in like Jin like possession and I'm the one like Jin even doing that like I'm doing like all the other forms will be like present in that in that indoor room who would be all like stronger than like a lot stronger than like who we say a lot stronger than Udagawa would have all noticed like Jin doing this and what exactly Jin was doing. So like yet like realistically like they might have all kept silent while it's definitely my victory ambition. So definitely that Jin might have been probably as well probably patiently waiting for like Udagawa to finally make his move like after like patiently waiting for all these years for like an opening. So still that trust might have been like it might be only like assumed and then the person that way like they might be well and fully aware of this and so like Jin might have but like in the person like Jin like the person is so close to like reaching Jin's like ultimate goal like I'm doing right now Jin might have friends like as a black lady and like Nagawa and like Jin having no more need for like Nagawa so like I'm doing consciously Jin might have through uh only put on that fake act and basically might out of me casually just throw such like precious onto the floor. So that like change might get totally up to this up and that eventually that Nagama would be totally making it move and attempting to like stage that respect to people like Jin is so close to like achieving this like ultimate goal. Like since that way like Nagama doesn't have much time left to like totally attempt to like actually scale Jin like crush like so this was the reason like Jin would be might have been able to determine that Nagama would be eventually attempting to like scale that trust and at that point for like for like totally that way for like Udagawa to that totally make a fool of himself to be like the intent behind that of that like a villain's intent of that skin is definitely my favorite. And at that point for like to call Udagawa out on that on like betrayal that's like something of Jin and the bounce that's like something Jin that like Jin had more even from the start and that way to that way for Jin to like call Udagawa out and basically that way to see that up with fear in Furagawa's eyes before like Jin eliminate Furagawa might be along the lines of like the villainous intent, realistic intent of Jin who certainly might be there. So that was much of like the scenario that I'm going. So like I'm feeling like Furagawa right now. thinking that he has got like the real trust, like would probably he has fake trust, and I'm looking at the top created that all that, and James that's like only eliminating Pranagawa with just a finger attack. So like the organic with like killing the scenario whenever the development monster and that was not in the revolution right now that like change right now would be completely stupid or constantly think that this is that right now on the verge of that accumulation. So and that the rolling over like showing up to the Tomondo and rolling over to Tomondo and like acquiring that presidency should have absolutely remember for them that like will might be something that is required and like stealing away like the phones of like other individuals like for even for like the bounce in like to steal away like enough so while the like alive like for like a to for like a bounce to steal like the soul of like a skin 20 like the 20 will might need to be aware definitely my experience should say definitely like that's my experience so definitely I'm different that get like change would be only have to make or completing that is without creating a like change would be definitely would be getting would be able to put all that pressure onto like the line will be now with only without creating will be certain things to like the pressure and like to be that way that it will be totally getting that instead of so and using that power that will be then you'll be gaining that as well as like instantly like the talented to jump out of like planting like the coin or like chin and like the remaining bounce will be easily able to like go to the moon and like it's like thinking or like chin would be easily able to like roll or like then that to the moon will be along the lines of the different like Jin, like even though that's like Jin or like Jin will be so extremely overconfident right now about like indefinitely and like I say that goes on integrating like definitely going to short and it might be due to the reason that basically Jin will be right now probably also things along the lines of like basically only among just like but among just like squad among just like like to only take like the ones that are worthy of like basically going up to like national government of along with him. So that's the my complaint and definitely that about Udagawa like I'm looking at Jin might be like I'm still thinking about this very important that Jin might have been well and fully aware of that like about like the secret intent within like Udagawa to like betray and like steal away like the trust definitely my brain, but like at least like Ragavan might be someone who like even from way back like felt like Jin might have considered as like unworthy and as like someone Jin would be only be getting eliminating before uh, going up to like the moment like will be along the lines like Jin of like a decision that Jin might have taken and fixed in his mind way back in like the back like was the belief mandatory. So this might be the reason for like right now that but even before like Ichigo was like Udagawa fighting and began like since casually going through like from like the floor as like a page to like Leo Udagawa into that point for that part. And that might have been what exactly might have happened. Definitely might have been so and definitely like it being exactly that even like the elimination of Udagawa even happening exactly by market originals that as well and the preparing maybe solely to like market originals that using that like the moment market originals showed up like market originals what market originals might have seen might have straight away like product of like betrayal of like since definitely like train. So like straight away market originals might have seen this as like the ultimate opportunity for market originals to like eliminate a bound without making market originals without that revealing that like a market originals like a traitor definitely might enter the ambition. So like that way market might have been definitely the current situation of that market eliminating like whatever might have been definitely market like take advantage of like the situation to like eliminate and take out account like definitely leave down market intent will be genuinely good and like market must intent will definitely be to like ensure that like Jin doesn't appear to go and for like market to like eliminate Jin and all of that the remaining bonds of Jin like by seeking the help of that the society might be that market current plan definitely might be very answer the problem. Definitely right now with that market that isn't simply eliminating Ragavan that as well might have been that might have been also the element of like fear that is not of like the working that Jin maybe even forgiving like Kodagawa for like attempting to like betray Jin and basically Jin allowing that Jin not eliminating Kodagawa but only giving Kodagawa some sort of like a punishment will be along the lines of the like Martin might have had that fear for like something like maybe it might be that as well might have been a huge factor like Martin quickly straight away like without any hesitation like straight away eliminating Martin the lead person to everything. So like I'm going to find that way definitely unlike and definitely number three ambitions that like unlike in like in like one of the state, like I'm looking like in the case of like markets, like Jin might be thoroughly testing markets, the league might be there. So like Jin might not be having like not even a trace of like nutrition towards like markets, markets loyalty towards like Jin might be in the case certainly and that's more like how exactly markets using that as itself might have only tricked Jin into like seeking like the help of like the society to bring down Jin might have been like how markets might have attempted and used the strategy. There's like the way of Jin might have been through the market stocks might have been like something Jin as like a um loyal like guard subordinate to the level of payment. So like as like Jin like goal ultimate goal to that goal to and goal of to the model like about to become a reality like a market of might have probably fixed in mind to like keep the help of like the society but like to do that the impression of that like it was impression back when like markets was sort of through like the human world and might have saved Jin from like being getting eliminated by the 20 like might not have leaked such a scenario for which like Jin might have been totally impressed and pleased with like markets and also and at that point like Jin probably something man he was to like be part of the black squad group and at that point of the point Jin might have probably noticed that like that and that time like markets was like still like markets was hiding it definitely my friends. So like Jin might have asked Marquis about why Marquis is highly like this is so like at that point like Marquis before realizing that Jin maybe before even realizing that Jin is like about or like even before realizing that like villain from the things like Jin like Marquis might have who they revealed to like Jin about like empathy and like the whole society and that's why like why Marquis have been as well as sort of have really showed up to the like the human world and why Marquis was like hiding with like the physical pressure. I just might have back then told him that like and that he was hiding like with the so that like not just like Luton or like anyone from like any sort of from like social society would show up looking for like marketing of like marketing might have told him that basically that he has left like and that it was society behind and doesn't want anything to do with that society might be organized marketing might have like going towards it and then the point might be after this that like one like Jen might have uh, had like market might have taken market of different telling market of like join this like group and at that point I'm looking like would be only when like market of might have realized that this like job would winners the cap and in that like this like about and all that suddenly went over it. So like still even then like due to like marketing having previous marketing of factory like might have been might have having marketing might have had that no choice but to like keep just like whistle for stuff that in that hidden kind of like state, especially in the premise. So like right now, like the reason for us that's like thing what's been exposed to like I think the like board, I think it board. And the different markets that's definitely my difference mind that he definitely has to like uh turn his like skills stuff back on to make it detectable to like what the ideas so that like some so that like basically that way markets was still like for me steadily seek help from the society to bring down this. So like I'm looking at like I'm looking market might have had the hurdle like the lack of settle of like basically if market turn back his like system to account then that market having like give perfect explanation to change or error and if market that is not able to like do that then like we would be easily getting questions of market so there was that might not have even just settle in front of market so like what market might have done at that point might have been that market Metabolic put on that continued on the like a perfect actually from Bhakti and my teacher might have told him that it linked since like Jin like and all of them are about to like head off to like are about to like since this is like about the team like ultimate sport and the little they are also about to like head off to like to come on or like really right before that like I'm looking at my teacher might have told Jin that really before it actually for like my teacher like such a lowest subordinate. Might not only belong to that absolute get and like this such an extreme lowest subordinate of Jin who wants like that absolute greatness for Jin and for Jin to be like that absolute strongest. So like I'm not just might have told Jin that basically that like for them to like not even take the remorse victim like the at all and for to not take any risk at all like on top of that the sort of that frequency instead of that like Jim is like only planning on like stealing and that way like on top of that like huge trust in like the strength like Jim will be attaining like even before that for like Jim will like also attain like the source of like the powerful broadcast from like the source right that way like I'm market Jim might have also take action from Jim and all Jim that way that way he the market also be able to like also get his like a revenge on like Ken Patrick himself could be along the lines market might have told him. So like not to do all this like to attract like the Kenpachi as well as possible other on what happens from like the society towards like Jim like market might have told Jim that we that he would like turn on his like Christian when that way attract like all those like strong repellents and what happens from like the uh, society to like towards like Jim or that like Jim could like for me steal away all or which they offer them and steal away all of their souls and that way increase like Jim's like strength to like the maximum coupled with like the strength of like the 20 of that whole that when you begin to remain soul feeling the soul with the potential so that's in the end of the night I can turn off my soul Jim definitely my right. It was like Jim might have only spent because like my vision of my soul Jim that basically could not even take the like a bit of that like the possibility of like their solely things more going even beyond their case than possibly maybe their existing like product that might be that far stronger than they will be only fitting in like a few amount of like there being possibility of like there being like the top stronger like when the follows of like a leader follow that might be like far stronger than they will be fitting in like few amount of so that if they just want to like roll over like few amount of that thing they have like to keep that near for so like for people like not even take the remote pickup so like by so you know to not take such not even like the slightest stuff like under the dramatics of major sport game that basically needs to like about the strategy to like turn on his like put them also and attract all the powerful happens from like the fighting and for Jin to like that way feel the force and grow even more way more stronger. Okay, along the lines like my my of like a fake acting and that can strategy that match is not my used against like Jin and might have successfully might have fought the trick Jin and that that take might have very upset. So this might be how that Jin and all of them like totally in like the person like has been really to be aware of like multi-channels like other friends like basically close by certainly my good remembrance like they will go preparing to like probably have that fight with them as well and defeat them and like for Jin like steal their souls as well. Definitely my good remembrance. When in actuality like I'm looking multi-channels will be become facing all that folks on like basically Kenpachi by now having reached like such severe levels of strength that we need to like Kenpachi and the remaining great number of determinants and like what happens from like society like showing up like them possibly being able to like collectively bring down Jim would be along the line from the like not reaching okay with all beginning. So like that way like there might have definitely there might be the ambition that like after like turning on markets and also like crystal workshop like according to that strategy that I'm bring that after that there might have definitely been like a bigger interaction between that market as well as like Yasir definitely might in which like market might have told Yasir to like bring everyone like all the powerful forces from the whole society as much as they can because it will be only necessary for them to be able to like bring down Jim would be along the line considering that markets might have told Yasir and Yasir might have told us to like Kenpachi yet like on the different like Kenpachi might have definitely still have that power from that element to him. Yet like on the different Kenpachi might have at that point that actually like study and go through like the details about like around their weakness and everything through like secretly accessing like that event of like my origin. And at that point like Kenpachi after gaining that knowledge for like Kenpachi for Kenpachi by himself to like go to like the uh to towards where like my responsibility and they need to like take out all the bounds and basically by himself to be along the next like and he might have been for completely might have taken the risk and especially might have been very so career pressure for like that way like will be like also putting definitely it might have been also due to like empathy like not having that extreme guilt as well something like consciousness even though it might have definitely not been like empathy force at all but the but regarding like it might have been that happen to into like attempt to like teach this like ideology and to like the hard way for like empathy by defeating empathy in that here might have that captain might have that totally challenge gone up to like empathy and challenge empathy to duel and it might have been that captain that might have set the role for like the duel as like even elimination as well being part of like the being allowed as part of like the whole of that duel might have resulted in like him getting that in the shock of like the realization that empathy was like a whole lot stronger than him was like empathy was for him and defeating him and eliminating him and ending up being like the next captain. might have been what might have happened. So like even though that Kenpachi would be like knowing all this like still Kenpachi would be down having that screen getting especially back then after like because like Kenpachi that might be how much like Maki Tsunos might have felt as like precious to like Kenpachi definitely so like back then when Maki Tsunos had blamed Kenpachi and left to society Kenpachi might have felt that much of like an extreme guilt feeling within like Kenpachi. Yet like the thing is might have in Kenpachi's like ego that might have resulted in like Kenpachi like not going after like Maki Tsunos to like call him back or like it might have been due to like Kenpachi only strongly feeling that basically being obvious from Kenpachi that like even if like Kenpachi so went up to like Maki Tsunos and tried to like call him back and told him not to leave like Marcus was one thing at all listening to like empathy will be along the line empathy will be bringing certainly one for the rest. So like that guilt within like empathy will be like strong even to like the second way certainly so like that way like empathy right now in the present like maybe according to my situation for hearing like the situation of like my regional group yeah so maybe I'm the different empathy at that point might have also felt that basically that and taken the decision that like like our company that well that like even while Yasuro like the basic part reasons might have given to like Yasuro might have been to not tell Ken Baji as well as like all the other squad captains to like basically to show up to like Amaki's office and basically to fight like and take down Shin and like the remaining of like on the prince still while Yasuro might have told us to like or all the details like in like that point Ken Baji or constantly might have told Yasuro that basically that no, that Kenpachi as well as like maybe that squad will be that successfully accomplishing this mission all by themselves and that will be taking out all the bombs and will be bring markets back. Maybe that's like the possibility that I'm doing as well. Like what Kenpachi might have told his like squad member at that point due to lack of knowledge. It's also like a possibility that I'm doing. So that way, like I'm different like due to that reason, like I'm different like Kenpachi might have probably maybe confident like that sort of from like seeking the help of like the squad captain. And that way the thing that once like the backup would be arriving, like I'm the maybe it being the just like Kenpachi, either it just being Kenpachi alone, like or like I'm the Kenpachi as well as like his squad alone, like that would be like the squad alone of like the different alone, like with like only a single squad captain, and that would be Kenpachi alone, like showing up as like backup, and that totally like all concepts of Kenpachi only resulting in like backfiring. In fact, usually backfiring is also like the scenario that I'm totally fiction about it. If you definitely there will be that part of empathy that would want to like probably through his actions would want to like through to like would want to like probably overcome his like guilt connecting to like Marty, you know, by like totally risking his life like at all costs, like even if this through his like sacrifice to like ensure that like he brings down like all the bounds and basically saves Marquez, you know, and like even if it's through like sacrifice, then to have like Marquez, you know, be like the next broadcast might be also along the line something like maybe can by before leaving so that he might also don't like that and all of them. So then it's also like about English that I'm inspiration and maybe that might also having like one of like the like literally betraying Yampaji and might have end up with it that way, like maybe one of the Philippines like staying back, like basically white Kenpachi and like the remaining Philippines maybe would be like heading off to towards my regions like and that's why maybe I'm like Philippines amongst themselves like secret strategy that's why they think to like get that additional backup and basically one of like Philippines staying behind and then like up like empathy and the others to be going up that side of like that one I think like empathy for that to be staying behind would be totally straight away getting that information to like support what happens like Ikitake as well as like Kyoto and like it's okay like basically that way like a bunch of like the good squad captains like basically uh we've got squad captains who have like that empathy and goodness within them like I'm putting them as like again like maybe eventually showing up as like the next set of like backup while like all folks would be like while like the situation would be like that of like situation where like all folks would be enough for like even with like the backup of Ken Patty and Ken Patty squad arriving while like the all folks would be feeling as if like lost for all of them like maybe at that point against like Jin and Jin's like army strong like maybe being at that point that like the additional final backup of like Ikedate and maybe a few other squad captains as well. The squad captains as well showing up maybe Omakana as well might show up and maybe that would be that kind of thing like when maybe like final change of like the higher up in the battle to happen. It's also like another one among like the many other possibilities that I'm looking at and method again.